What if I told you that one of the most powerful empires in history, Rome, once hit a financial reset button so drastic, it wiped debts clean, toppled elites, and saved millions from economic ruin? And what if I also told you that today's world economy is heading toward the exact same breaking point? This isn't conspiracy. This isn't fantasy. This is history, and history has a habit of repeating itself, especially when we ignore its warnings. Today, we're uncovering the Roman Debt Jubilee, the ancient economic reset that terrified the rich, prevented a civil war, and became a blueprint economists still debate today. But before we jump to conclusions, ask yourself, what happens when debt grows faster than the economy, and the poor have nothing left to give? Rome found out, and so will we. Rome didn't rise on military power alone. It rose on credit loans, investments, speculation, and the promise of future tax revenue. At first, this system created incredible growth. Roads, trade networks, cultural expansion, all fueled by capital on credit. But hidden beneath that prosperity was a debt trap. Citizens borrowed to survive. Farmers borrowed to pay taxes. Soldiers returned from war to find their land taken for unpaid debts. The rich got richer. The poor lost everything, including their freedom. Because in Rome, debts weren't just numbers. They could cost you your children, your land, even your life. This is where our story begins. How debt became a weapon in Rome hundreds of years before emperors ruled marble palaces. Early Romans lived under a brutal law called nexum, debt bondage. If you owed money and couldn't repay it, you could be chained, imprisoned, or forced to work as a slave for your creditor. Imagine, you're a Roman farmer. Your crops fail for one season. You borrow money to survive. Next season fails. You lose your farm. You lose your rights. You lose your freedom. And the elites, the patricians, loved it. They gained cheap labor and land. And Rome's wealth became concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. Debt wasn't a mistake. It was the system. But the poor, the plebeians, were reaching a breaking point. The secession of the plebs. When debt almost broke Rome, the year is 494 BC. Rome is young, weak, surrounded by rivals, and then the working people, the soldiers, go on strike. Not a protest, not a riot. They literally walk out of the city, camp on a hill, and refuse to defend Rome until the debt system changes. No farmers, no soldiers, no economy. Rome is paralyzed. The elites panic because for the first time, the people realize their power. The result, Rome establishes the office of the tribune of the plebs, a political seat to protect the common people from financial abuse. But the debt problem wasn't gone, it was only the beginning. Expansion, exploitation, and the illusion of prosperity as Rome expands through war. Conquest floods Rome with wealth. But who receives it? Not the soldiers risking their lives. Not the farmers losing their homes to debt. It is the latifundia, massive estates controlled by wealthy elites that absorb conquered lands. Small farmers are pushed out. Though technically free, they become slaves to debt again. And now, a new class rises. The equestrians, Rome's banker elite. They are money lenders, tax collectors, and financiers. They profit from every war, every loan, every foreclosure. Rome becomes a global empire built on military power, enslaved labor, perpetual debt. Debt becomes an industry, and once again, the system begins to crack. When the borrowers can't borrow anymore, fast forward to the 1st century BCE. Rome is wealthy on the outside, but internally, inequality is exploding, housing prices are out of control, the cost of living is unbearable. Debtors' prisons are full, violence erupts in the streets, a familiar pattern. Enter Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus, the brothers who dared to challenge the elites. They propose land redistribution, debt relief, limits on wealth concentration. The rich respond, not with debate, but with assassination. Both brothers are murdered. Reforms die with them, and Rome descends into chaos, riots, economic collapse, civil wars, until one man rises to seize control. The Jubilee arrives. Julius Caesar, conqueror, populist, political genius. He knows the truth. You cannot build a stable empire when most of your citizens are drowning in debt. He issues a sweeping program. Caesar's debt reforms cancels a portion of all debts in the empire, stops interest from accumulating during civil war. returns property seized illegally, releases many imprisoned debtors. It's not total forgiveness, but it's a massive reset. For ordinary Romans, a miracle; for the elites, a nightmare, because for the first time, the wealthy are forced to absorb the financial loss. This debt jubilee temporarily restores economic balance. People can breathe again, the empire stabilizes, but there's a twist. Caesar's reforms make him wildly popular with the masses, and dangerously threatening to the wealthy elite. You know how his story ends. He is assassinated. Debt relief had saved Rome, but the rich would rather kill a leader than surrender economic power. Rome refuses to learn its lesson after Caesar. Rome returns to the same addiction: more conquest, more inequality, more land in elite hands, more citizens in debt, more political violence. Every attempt at debt reform ends in rebellion: Spartacus, civil war; Sulla versus Marius, dictatorship; Augustus. Then the emperor's Rome grows richer, but Romans grow poorer. The empire keeps pushing wealth upward, while the foundation rots beneath it. Eventually, the economy becomes unsustainable. Taxes soar, small farmers disappear, soldiers become mercenaries, currency is debased. The state collapses from within. Rome falls not because of outside invaders, but because the system stopped working for its own people. Why economists are warning about history repeating itself today. Worldwide debt is larger than ever before in human history. We see the same patterns. Rome then, world now. Wealth concentrated in elites, wealth inequality near historic highs. Ordinary citizens trapped in debt, student loans, housing debt, consumer credit. Economy built on expansion, economy built on perpetual growth. Political elites block reform. Lobbying, power of financial institutions, anger and polarization increase social unrest, rising globally. Governments continue borrowing against the future. People borrow to survive, not to grow. Just like Rome, debt is no longer funding prosperity, it's consuming it. And the elites, the creditors, do not want a reset. They fear it, because a reset means their wealth shrinks. But without relief, societies crack, economies distort, democracy weakens, extremism rises. The question facing the world today is the same Rome faced. How long can a society survive when most citizens believe the system is rigged against them? Rome experimented with every possible outcome. Reset the debts, gives economy, stabilizes, people thrive. Protect elite wealth, gives violence, erupts. The system collapses. A financial system can only stretch so far before reality snaps it back. A jubilee is not charity. It is economic survival. Even modern economists who hate the idea admit, what cannot be paid will not be paid. Debt relief happens eventually, either peacefully by policy, or violently by revolution and collapse. Rome chose both at different times. Which path will we choose? 3 key takeaways. Rome rose on credit, but debt inequality nearly destroyed it. Economic power without balance leads to instability. Debt jubilees saved the empire when elites resisted change. Forgiveness wasn't moral, it was practical. Our modern world is replaying the same dangerous script. The warning signs are flashing. Again, debt is not just numbers in a system. It is the lifeline between citizens and their future. When that lifeline becomes a chain, societies rebel, empires fall, and history resets, with or without permission. Rome learned this the hard way. We still have time to learn it the wise way. If you believe history matters, if you think our future depends on understanding it, then support this video by giving it a like and sharing it with someone who needs to hear this warning. And if you want more deep dives into the economic forces shaping civilization, past and present, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next story we uncover could be the one that explains tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and remember, history doesn't repeat, it warns.